Steve, it started as a little blip, and now what do you make of it? What would you do with it?
Yeah, so I'm always biased to Ford and GM. I always own American cars as well, so I always feel like I have an allegiance to them. When I look at the stock chart, though, Kelly, they don't look terrible. They don't look great either. So that's the world of technical analysis. The one tailwind that I heard from the VP of sales, the in-transit volume up 74%. That means we're coming to an end of supply constraints, or supply chain constraints, I should say. Would I be a buyer of it? I'm not sure right now, and I'll tell you why. If you're going to have a 2-10 inversion, that recession is going to happen sooner rather than later, even if it is a year out or a year and a half out. That could impede people's attention span to buy a new vehicle.
Let's go on to stock number 2, oh great Baron of Westchester. It is Starbucks, which announced today they're going to not do their buybacks anymore. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think with Schultz back, you have to think of it this way. He's had his head pretty much wrapped around politics as of late, and I think there's a huge bucket of thought that's going into this. Why? Think about what he said. He wants to bypass the buyback. And when you look at that, I think he wants to have the perception, or maybe the reality, of spending more money on employees rather than on bolstering the stock price. So do I think it's 100% political, Tyler? Absolutely not. When I look at the chart, it doesn't look constructive to me. The one thing that is constructive, there's a scarcity value in coffee stocks. As a matter of fact, I think I read an article that they're going to have a SPAC on a coffee-related stock. So if that doesn't tell you there's a scarcity value to Starbucks, if you want to own it longer term, nothing else would.
Still, I said it a moment ago, it feels like the most underplayed story of the day in many ways, to a company this big halting its buyback. But let's talk some AMD, Steve, before you go. They're buying that Pensando, the cloud startup, for almost $2 billion. And AMD's down 25% this year. Everyone trying to make heads and tails of the semi-cycle. What would you do with it?
So here's the human nature arm that comes in, and this is all cyclical. In the semiconductors, Kelly, they're always boom bust. And what has happened right now is you have a scarcity in supply of semiconductors due to the supply chain constraints. What's going to happen in the future, in my humble opinion? Companies are going to overorder. A company like Ford is going to order when they can, not when they have to. Every other company is going to do the same. So what follows a supply constraint is a supply glut. So I think the market's reading that the intelligent way. You have to be very picky in the semiconductor space. I would rather buy NVIDIA than AMD, but I think there's going to be a glut versus a supply chain constraint.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.